everybody. I'm Noelle.
And this is Jenna.
And you're listening to More Than Murder, where we delve into everything eerie with a side of true crime.
More Than Murder is not your typical true crime podcast. Join us on a weekly tour through the haunted, the bloody, the creepy, and the nutty on our Freaky Fridays.
Welcome back, listeners, and welcome, Jenna.
Hello.
Today is it is a haunted episode, but we do have a little bit of true crime in there.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Just a little bit. And
they always like to intersect, you know?
Yeah, I found some
cool
things about some of the people that we're going to talk about. So, anyways, we're going back to Rochester, New York today.
Alrighty.
We're going to visit one of the most well-known cemeteries in the area. And I forgot my wedding ring again. After I take showers lately, I've just been so absent-minded. It's just
just not getting.
Yeah, especially today. Had some rough news the other day, which is when we're recording, but you're listening to it on Friday, so yeah. That's why I said the other day. Anyway.
Yes.
We weren't able to make it there as I'd hoped. It seemed like every day we had the chance to go, it was rainy. So let's get started. It will be a little bit of a shorter episode, but we'll see how it goes.
Alrighty.
Today we are strolling through the Mount Hope Cemetery. Before Mount Hope Cemetery was even a thought, the Rochester, New York, and surrounding areas, as we know, had a really large population of Native Americans. Various tribes all throughout New York. No, I cannot talk. All throughout New York, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's, Seneca and Onondaga and Iroquois and all that in the area.
I remember that whole Iroquois learning in school for ever.
Yeah, I mean, half of the Finger Lake areas are named after different tribes. So.
Oh yeah, you go in street signs and towns and just highways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently from the beginning, the natives claimed that the entire plot of land where the cemetery would be had really bad energy. Ooh. Well, not bad, but just energy, I should say.
Okay, strong
energy. I say bad because they did hear some things that sounded creepy, but we'll get there. They reported seeing lights that would disappear in the day and reappear at night. These lights weren't like anything they'd seen, certainly not like that of a lightning bug or anything. I mean, they lived out on the land. They would kind of know the difference.
Yeah, you'd think they'd know.
Yeah, so not to mention, after seeing them right before their eyes, they would then see the lights appear on a hill in a different area. Along with the lights, they also reported hearing screams coming from the area. So that's why I say kind of like bad energy, because the screams. So during the span of 1832 and 1834, Rochester was experiencing a massive cholera outbreak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the time of the outbreak, there was probably only about 10,000 people living in Rochester, which is still a lot for the time.
Still a good time, yeah.
And there were reportedly approximately 110 people that were afflicted and had passed away.
Oh.
It was really sudden, and now they needed, all of a sudden, more space for burials.
Yeah.
I read that the cemetery was dedicated in 1838, but had to do some searching to find out some extra info. That's pretty neat. So the first burial was indeed in 1838, and it was on that plot of land where the natives were. And that William Carter, who died August 17th that year, was the first burial. However, there are roughly 670 legible, I'll come back to that, gravestones with inscriptions that date back way farther than when the cemetery was even dedicated. The oldest inscription is that of Colonel Zadok Granger of 1799. According to his family, this stone is only a memorial because he is actually supposed to be buried in a different cemetery in the northern part of Rochester.
So it's just a headstone that's there.
But there's no stone for the colonel at the grave the family says he was supposed to be buried at. So where his body is, apparently where his body is, there's no stone. But where his body's not, there is. I just find that a little weird. So I'm wondering... did they... Yeah. Is he buried over there? Maybe is he buried at Mount Hope? Who knows?
Who knows?
Now, they say a lot of these stones with predated inscriptions are people that have been moved from other cemeteries.
Yeah,
which would explain that.
Yeah.
But what explains the fact that besides the vandalized stones, what about the ones that can't be read? If this cemetery was all built, how long ago did these stones... Where were these stones from? The illegible ones, the ones that cannot be read, that look so washed out and faded by the weather that there's just hardly anything. It almost makes me wonder.
Maybe when they moved them, maybe they moved that with them.
Or maybe people were already putting gravestones and people buried in that area before the cemetery.
Before it was actually said to be a cemetery, maybe.
That's kind of where I was like, wonder where these really, really, really old ones are.
Oh, yeah.
So, not only did Rochester need burial area at the time, but they also needed places for people to walk and enjoy. Rochester was one of the big boom towns in all of America during industrialization. Mm-hmm. So, according to an article from 2013 on the RochesterCityNewspaper.com, about 300 people per day were moving to Rochester in the 1830s, in the early 1830s.
The place to be. Mm-hmm. Not anymore.
And Mount Hope Cemetery became one of America's first public park-like cemeteries.
It's just fun to walk around.
Yeah, and they wanted it to be that way. They actually put it there for a reason. This isn't a place just for death or for the dead. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It was built on a piece of land that was constructed by glaciers years and years and years and years ago, obviously. And now it's home to valleys and mass amounts of foliage.
Oh, yeah.
And there are swamps and hills and all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
So okay. I know I just said so twice. But anyway, the article also mentions, with Rochester now being the busy, bustling city that it is, filled with buildings, cars, and roads, people can kind of come back to nature here, while maybe also like visiting loved ones that are interred at the cemetery. You
don't feel like you're in a city, really. No. When you're in there, you don't feel like you're...
huge.
It's massive.
So, and we'll get into that as well.
I don't even think I've been through the whole thing.
It is located on 196 acres of land, so you probably have not. Mount Hope, it's worth noting that this cemetery is home to more people than Rochester itself. Okay, let's break this down.
The cemetery is more populated than the city.
In 2020, there was about 205,077 people living in the city of Rochester, okay? Not only does the population of the cemetery continue to grow, but there are already over 350,000 people buried there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It makes sense because it's a big city. People are still being buried there. People are buried there.
It's incredible.
Wow, that is so neat.
Now, I say quickly, but I don't think it turned out to be quickly. I was too involved in all the cool people that are buried here, but I said I'm going to quickly list the most well-known people buried here.
Of course.
But there are also some others I also wanted to mention that aren't as well-known, but just as important and intriguing to mention. Most well-known, of course, we have Susan B. Anthony, which many of the people involved in her arrest and trial are also buried near Susan.
Yep.
And you can also find her gravestone donned with "I voted" stickers around presidential election times.
Woo, I did it.
Mr. Frederick Douglass, also is buried there. The founder of Rochester, New York, Nathaniel Rochester, who apparently purchased some acres of land near Dansville, along the Canasarega Creek near Dansville. And then they built a home, him and his family built a home in Dansville that was moved to the Genesee Valley Museum.
I think I knew that, yeah.
And
we should go there sometime soon.
I agree.
Love it there.
Wow, that's all really awesome history. Nathaniel Rochester also came from the South as a slave trader, so Anyway,
I feel like most
not gonna
people
get into
probably did. Hopefully he was on the better side of it. Like Freddie was like, yo, dude, no.
Yeah.
We're changing things.
Yeah,
hopefully he was in on it.
Well, that's why hopefully he just came north and had nothing to do with it. But that's why I say so. Cool history, but don't know if I love the guy.
But Rochester and New York is very rich with progressive,
it always has been.
Abolitionment, whatever that word
Abolitionist?
is. Yes, but that is, we have a very rich history here of that, and people who were involved in that.
Yeah, so hopefully he had a change of heart when I was like, no, this isn't right, and I'm just going to go north where it doesn't exist, mostly.
Exactly.
I mean, it did, but very seldom comparatively with the South.
Yeah, we kind of started trend.
We also have the man who gave Rochester its Flower City nickname, Robert Dalzell, who is one of the most prominent millwrights in history. We have a nurse who worked for RGH that actually thought of the idea to have licensed registered nurses and was the first registered nurse in New York State. There was also a nurse who's buried there. I didn't mention this in my notes, but I thought it was cool. She actually worked in New York City as a nurse, for immigrants, for people who came over and would immediately treat them with flu for influenza and things.
Huh.
And she's buried there as well.
Neato.
There's also Stanley Fox. He was a gear salesman across the pond on a trip, returning home on a ship. The year was 1912, and the ship he was returning on was called the Titanic.
Yeah.
Stanley did not make it home alive, and his body is buried at Mount Hope after a lot of weird shit going on with his body. Like, there was some sort of, like, insurance fraud happening by somebody who wasn't related, who claimed to have his body, but his wife was like, no, that's not me or something, and finally got his body back to Mount Hope.
Huh.
It was crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't know that at all. That's so neat.
In 1837, an orphanage in Rochester was founded called the Rochester Orphanage Asylum. It's actually now known as the Hillside Children's Center. And I think that if it's where I'm thinking it is from another article I read, it's near a place, if not the place, where Tony and I used to do open mic nights at a church. But anyway, the asylum had also purchased a plot of land at the cemetery as well.
Yeah, I mean,
just in case, it's an orphanage for children. And at the time in 1837, there was not medications for things and treatments for things. So people did die from sickness. In 1901, half the building burned to the ground. Apparently, someone had accidentally left something open to, like, a jet gas thing that helped heat the place.
Oh, boy.
And at the time, what lit the buildings was gas lamps. You'd go around and you'd light the gas lamps.
Yeah.
And so when a caretaker was going to light a gas lamp, fire just ignited and
probably just exploded. Oh my gosh.
I read that either 29 or 27 children died in the fire.
Aww.
They were buried in Mount Hope, as well as there was I believe a nurse or a cook or something. There was a couple other ladies, I think, that had also perished.
People in the house asylum.
Yeah. But luckily it was only half, because there was, I think I read, like 100-something people at the orphanage at the time.
Okay,
and
all right.
It did claim 29, but at least it wasn't the whole building.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
There's Edward Crone, who was actually captured by the Germans in the early 40s and imprisoned alongside a famous author. I didn't realize this famous author was imprisoned in Germany, Kurt Vonnegut.
Huh.
And actually, this Edward Crone, who was imprisoned alongside Kurt Vonnegut, became the inspiration for a character in Kurt's novel Slaughterhouse-Five.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. This cemetery is filled with such interesting things. I mean, there's even sections, like certain plots next to each other, dedicated to soldiers that had fought and died in the Spanish War, and then all the way up through with, like, the Korean War, World War. Like, it's really cool, the tributes that they play to people here. This part is perfect for More Than Murder, because we're going to get into a little bit of true crime.
All right.
Crime. Okay. Apparently, Rochester's first serial killer and his victim are buried there. Apparently, in 1837, there was a bookkeeper who managed one of the 4 mills in Rochester named William Lyman, and a 19-year-old guy named Octavius Barron. Barron found out that Lyman had allegedly been stealing money from the mill. He thought that he'd been stealing money. Barron shot Lyman in the back of the head so that Barron could steal the money, because Barron wanted the money.
Jesus.
The money was about $5,000, and I don't know if that was 1837 time money or now money, but either way, that's a hefty amount of money.
Yeah.
For 1837. When Barron searched Lyman's wallet after he had killed them, there was hardly any money. However, detectives who investigated after Barron's arrest found that Lyman had stolen the money and kept it in his top hat, which rolled away after he was shot, and Barron didn't even think to check it.
Oh, so no one got it?
Nope. In fact, Barron had his day in court at the Monroe County Jail and was hanged and buried at Mount Hope as well, and so was Lyman. Another case of true crime was that of Marion Ira Stout, a.k.a. Ira, and his sister Sarah. Ira was in jail in PA at some point and was released in like 1857 when he was headed back to Rochester. He found out that his sister, who was dating a boyfriend named Charles Littles, he was beating her and severely alcoholic. So he was like this severely abusive alcoholic boyfriend.
Yeah, not a good time.
No, and Ira didn't take kindly to that, and honestly, neither did Sarah. When Ira came back, I don't know what Ira did previously to be in jail in Pennsylvania, but I'd imagine it wasn't for something great because he and Sarah hatched a plan to rid their lives of this abusive boyfriend. The plan went like this. Sarah was to go to High Falls in the false pretense of meeting another lover. Ira told Charles this specifically, that Sarah was going to go meet another lover.
Yep, so he'd show up.
So he would show up at the High Falls to try to catch Sarah in the act. Once there, because the plan worked, Ira smashed Charles over the head with a hammer and pushed him over the edge of the falls.
Oh my.
Unexpectedly for Ira, Charles landed on a ledge below. Both Sarah and Ira climbed down to finish actually pushing Charles off the ledge, and in doing so, they accidentally left some of their personal belongings behind, leading investigators straight to them.
Dumbasses.
Both were convicted at their trials, but only Ira, surprisingly, was hung and buried at Mount Hope.
Okay.
Sarah, I don't know what happened, if she was just remained in jail or what. I didn't dig deep enough for that. But, yeah. So, 3 of Buffalo Bill's children are also buried there. His 5-year-old son, who died from illness, I believe, Kit Carson Cody, is buried there. And 2 daughters of his, Ora Maud and Arta, are also buried there.
Arta.
I know, and I loved Ora. O-R-R-A. Ora Maud. And while there are so many worth mentioning, this isn't a list of who is buried there, but we do have another famous Rochesterian interred there, and we've actually spoken about him before in our Haunted Rochester episode. Can you guess? I think that's probably the only person we'd actually talked about in the episode in depth.
Fuck, no.
He was very famous, and it's still very well known.
Oh, Eastman.
Yep.
Eastman,
George
okay.
Eastman is buried at
you gotta get my gears going a little bit. I was
gonna keep going, but you got it.
I'll get there.
So yeah, Mr. George Eastman is buried at Mount Hope as well.
Makes sense. I would want to be, if I was a Rochesterian, that is where I would. I'm not getting buried, because I got icks about that, but if I were, I'd be like, oh yeah, Mount Hope, it would be my place.
Yeah, and also Holy Sepulchre is a really famous one also, where there's people buried at, and it's also like a really well-known one.
Yeah.
That's where the guy that they had suspected to be Jack the Ripper is buried.
Okay.
He came from England, and they suspected that was the guy, but I came across an article from like 2019 that they believe that it is not the guy.
They believe it's like 18 different guys. There's another show that I watched that it was H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, and they were
tying connections to that, but then they couldn't find anything, and it's like...
Yeah, there was even that one lady that I had mentioned in another episode where they had said that it was her.
Yes!
Remember?
Yes, they
and
just
she's
don't
like,
know.
I'm not a guy.
They'll never know.
Yeah.
They'll never, it's like the
Maybe it was
Dahlia.
the girl.
You know, you can say who you think it is, but we'll never know.
Yeah. So I guess at one point, they also found some unmarked graves at Highland Park and moved them to Mount Hope as well. So, people who just settled there apparently.
And that's the thing, is there were, for every little town or settlement, you had a cemetery. That's why there are still little tiny old ass cemeteries. They do probably move those once they develop and, get your cemetery going, but oh my god.
Yeah.
They're the coolest things.
Yeah. So there is an interesting rumor that there's Illuminati catacombs beneath Mount Hope, and not only just Mount Hope, but Rochester, and that you can get to it by the mausoleums.
I was going to say one of the mausoleums, because you can't get into those mausoleums. They're locked
can't.
up.
Yeah. And I think that is so awesome. Like, honestly, that is so awesome. Before I get into that, so the cemetery does have 82 mausoleums.
Yep.
82 mausoleums, and then they have fountains, which some of them are reminiscent of Egyptian things, and gatehouses that were built all the way back in the 1830s.
It's gorgeous.
And a beautiful, beautiful abandoned chapel. I wish they were able to keep up with it over the years, but they haven't, and visitors to the cemetery are not able to go in. The chapel was actually built there to serve as a chapel for funerals for those who were going to be buried there.
Yeah,
so I thought that was really nice. So back to the catacombs. I think that's fucking cool. If there are mausoleums that lead to hidden catacombs beneath the ground, that is awesome. It just gives me Buffy vibes, you know, going in through the mausoleum. You know, there's something down below. That's where they
always.
The master was down there.
Yeah, she was always hunting in the cemetery. It was perfect.
I just love it. But I found on Rock Wiki, because there's like a Rock Wiki page.
Yep.
A very interesting response that seems just so like, shut it down, that's it. And it seems like suspicious to me. It almost is like they just put it there so people will stop asking about it.
Or try to break into the mausoleums.
Yeah.
You never know.
But I really have a sneaking suspicion that it is true. Okay. So this quote, Rock Wiki's response to these rumors of the catacombs. The Illuminati catacomb system. The Illuminati catacomb system. So they called it the Illuminati catacomb system.
Like it's an official
name. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Does not exist beneath our city as an intricate network of subterranean passageways connecting major centers of power, taking advantage of the natural caves formed by our city's limestone foundation. There are no entryways to this non-existent network hidden inside mock mausoleums at Mount Hope Cemetery or on the east wall beneath the High Falls. Jesus. Nor is there an entrance in the Sunken Garden, which we'll come back to the Sunken Garden because if you haven't been there yet, it is cool. And that would be, there's like this place you can go in underneath. Yeah. And it would be the perfect place to have like another outlet. Okay.
Enter, yeah.
Okay. William Morgan most certainly has nothing to do with the non-existent Illuminati catacomb system. Do you see what I mean?
They're writing it as a way to kind of, I think the way I'm hearing it is they are giving you, ooh, that was my tummy, sorry. I think they are saying, no, it's not, but they're saying, yes, it is, subliminal.
That's what I mean.
Like, this is where to enter. Yeah. This is who's involved. This is a part of it. This is the name of it.
They're giving like all the...
That's how it seems. But then again, I don't know. Conspiracy theories are one thing. I'm not the person who falls down into conspiracy theories.
I do a little bit.
I could see a catacomb anyway. It doesn't have to be...
Well, I mean, the Underground Railroad runs right
exactly,
through Rochester.
and there are catacombs in other places.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to automatically be this Illuminati thing. You know what I mean?
But the Illuminati would use it, I bet.
They may be, but I see it as more of, yes, a catacomb could definitely exist, and that's where I fall on that spectrum.
I'm on that bitch is there for the Illuminati, and you can get into the Sunken Garden and High Falls and East Wall and through the mausoleums.
But don't break into the mausoleums.
No, it's very disrespectful. Don't ever do that.
Because you don't know which one's the mock one and which one isn't that. And they're literally covered with stone. A lot of them are bricked up. Yeah. It's not just a lock that you cut. Right. You would literally have to destroy
your way in.
And don't do that. Yeah.
That's so disrespectful, which... Obviously, vandalism does take place there. They've had to replace gravestones. I don't know what's wrong with people. Every fucking cemetery.
To Greenmount, and there's ones. I want to be like that person that goes in and like
restores them. Yeah,
because that would be very therapeutic for me. I would love it. I'd
sit there and talk with the people interred there. Just sit and say, "Hey, Charles." I only say Charles because that's the only name.
It's so weird because I've noticed, like, I go on a hike somewhere and I'm just like not sure of my footing, and I let Sean lead. I'm in a cemetery. I lead. I am just on it. I feel powerful. I feel like I know where I'm going. Like, I have this connection with cemeteries. I love them so much. I do. And it is literally my happy place.
Yeah, we used to go in all the time when I lived in Rochester. There was one that right near my friend Diane's house that we'd walk through and we'd just hang out in there. But it's so sometimes disheartening also because, like, unless you are somebody to restore them, there's a lot of them in Rochester that have, like, a little ovular plaque of, like, someone's picture.
Yeah,
and people just scratch their fucking faces out.
I know. People
and it's so disgusting.
Mean.
It's so mean. And it makes me so mad. But I love like in Europe and probably in New Orleans and other places down south, they have the coolest looking graveyards.
Oh, yeah.
With like them built up out of the ground like that. It's so cool. I want to go to New Orleans so bad and visit their graveyards.
Mount Hope does have some. There's a prominent guy who was, it's like a mayor or a governor, I can't remember, but he was around the time of Susan B. and Frederick Douglass, and that's how I learned about him. And it was weird because we were driving through and I was like, I want to find this guy, but I don't know how to find him. And then I just had Sean pull over. And this is how I am in cemeteries. I found my family plots this way. I found other plots this way. And it was literally right there next to us. And it was built out. And it was built like around him.
Yeah.
And then his family and stuff. So they are still a little bit here, but they're not as many. And you probably needed a lot of money for it. Because it was pure marble and stone that it was built around. But it's so freaking neat.
Yeah. They had some of them in Rochester, but like you said, not as
much.
Down south.
No. It was more here. It's more of like the family plot.
Yeah.
You have a big monument, and then you have the family around that monument, and it kind of showed. You see that a lot, like in Dansville and Mount Hope. That's more of a thing around here.
So to move on with a little bit of spookiness, not a whole lot, but there is a little. To this day, those random strange lights that come and go can still be seen in the graveyard, which I think would be just so awesome to see because that's just balls of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love it.
And you can see it. You don't need a camera. You don't need any electronics.
Just in front of your eyes.
You see it.
Yeah. There are also figures that have been seen that disappear and audible screams that people still hear.
Okay.
Just as the natives on the land used to when it was an empty lot of grass. There's also a section of the cemetery called Devil's Bowl. I'm assuming it's a spot in one of the swamps or valleys in a deeper portion that must be bowl-shaped. I'm really hoping to get there on Saturday if we have the day off because I want to get to see all these cool things and maybe take some pictures and get some spooky images.
I can't even think of what area that would be or if I even would have seen it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, the place is absolutely huge. So you would need to grab a map and get to know, like, where you got to go. And they do have some. So.
We park and then we walk. So we're walking really far and then we got to come back to the car. And if we want to go to another area, it's big.
It's really big. I've been there years and years and years and years and years ago, but that's all when I lived in Rochester. And I need to re-experience these things as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, it's called that because from the beginning of the cemetery, pretty much, maybe even before, who knows, people went to this spot, and still do, to practice their form of dark arts. Okay. I don't like to say satanic rituals or whatever because I don't believe in it.
Just the darker side of any spirituality
or magics or whatever.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's said that even sacrifices have taken place there.
Oh, shit.
So they call it the Devil's Bowl. Huh. And I'm wondering how... There are videos on YouTube I meant to watch, but there's been a lot going on, you guys. Like, a lot. And I meant to watch them, but they're other people's investigations from the cemetery and like their EVPs and things. So people have caught stuff.
Can you go in at night?
And I... Probably not. Most cemeteries close at dusk.
Yeah, I know.
And they lock the doors.
Dumb. Like... Let me in.
Yeah, they probably would allow, who knows if we'd be able to talk to the caretakers or whatever to try to get in at night. They do offer guided tours as well as nighttime ghost walks.
Okay.
And ghost tours, it is part of the Haunted Trail of Rochester or Haunted Rochester Trail or whatever.
I think, yeah.
And, I love that in exploring this cemetery, we found... several tragedies, which, as we know, always draw spiritual energy, especially by those buried there. So the children could possibly still be there playing. The guy who died on the Titanic so tragically.
Oh, yeah.
The murder victims, everything like that. And then, I believe Susan B's probably walking around the city rather than staying at the graveyard. She's probably like, yeah, this is my city. I was the one that helped fight for the rights of women here.
I know.
And, but I think there's over 350,000 bodies there, you guys. bodies that had souls. There's stuff that happens there.
Oh, there's got to be, easily.
I just got to get there and take goddamn pictures and get my phone recorded because, and I'm like super stoked. Gustavo's like, oh, we could go. And I'm like, okay, what else can we do that day? Maybe we could go to the museum. I don't know. But it's definitely in the plans. So maybe I can update the blog with my own photos of some of these places.
Yep. I have like 10 day trips that involve cemeteries that I have told Sean, like, can we go this day? Can we go this day? Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. I know. I wish we were able to get there.
I know. We'll have to go someday. I mean, it's the start of summer. We'll get there. We'll get there someday.
I know. I just wanted it to be before this damn episode.
I know.
It would have made most sense.
But still, it'll be a fun outing, and we'll be in the cemetery. And
we'll have to go live or something.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, so I'm going to have to mention that because that's this week.
That is, yes. Well, it's today.
That's tonight. That's right. That's this week, tonight.
Yes.
Anyways, we'll get into that. I believe that's honestly all I have. Like I said, it was a super short episode. We're literally at 31 minutes. But
not bad, though.
I thought it was a really fun episode. You know that there's stuff that happens there. If you're in the area, feel free to take a walk through it during hours in which they allow because it is a wonderful place and there were a lot of wonderful people buried there.
Just the history. I mean, people travel to see, Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony and to there's a feeling that you get when you stand near those graves.
Yeah.
Because they were such influential people and they changed the world. They changed the motherfucking world and you're standing there and that is where they are laid to rest. And it's powerful.
And it's just so old. I mean, I just love Rochester a lot. And, I mean, New York State in general has just that old
rich
history of, even back from the Native Americans, like I said, with all their different tribes that were located everywhere around here. And
who knows where those tribes are buried. And
right. I mean, all the amount of Native American burial grounds and things that you don't know what you're standing on half the time. You just don't know what you're standing on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's cool. I mean, even in Dansville, there's that... you know where the gazebo is there?
Yeah.
In the middle of town?
Yep.
Well, to the left, there's that... I'm saying to the left because I'm, like, driving up to the gazebo.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly.
There's that little park.
Yep.
And the stone even reads that...
There's
people still...
bodies.
There's still bodies under there. And honestly, it's one of my favorite places to walk around. The ground is just different at cemeteries, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%,
It's just...
There's little mounds and things.
Yeah,
some are different than others, like Green Mountain, Mount Hope. They're very hilly, and there's places, and I don't know how people are even buried at Green Mountain because they're on the side of a hill.
And a lot of times, throughout history, when people are buried on hills, the caskets have, in massive rains or floods, they've actually
unearthed
and run down the hill, and bodies are going everywhere. It's like,
think that's happened at Green Mountain.
No.
I mean, my own Kinney family plot from the 1800s is on a hill. Like, we had to walk up the hill to get to the little knoll. So, fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They also spelled her name wrong.
I wanted... Wow.
Yeah. The first one, Philip and Ophelia, it says Kinney, because they have the big thing, and then they have the family, of course. And then in the back, it's his parents, and it says Kenny on the big part, and then around it, their names are spelled correctly.
How can they get one side wrong?
I have no idea.
When you have the rest to look at.
I was like, wait.
It's probably the first side they did.
Because I was like, Kenny. I was like, oh, no, that can't. And then I was like, Philip and Ophelia Kinney. Yeah, that's them. Like, what the fuck?
Wow, that's messed up.
Yeah, so...
Yeah,
thanks.
I tried, I'll have to ask my dad where his parents are buried, and then I did twirl with a lovely little girl, and she passed when she was 8, and she's either in Holy Sepulchre or Mount Hope. I can't remember which one, but
there's probably smaller ones, too, throughout, like the outskirts and things like that.
Oh, there are, but I'm pretty sure that, because I know I don't think she's in Holy Sepulchre. I don't know. I'll have to find out. Maybe I could visit both cemeteries because both are really nice, and they're actually just about a mile apart.
I've never been to Holy Sepulchre. I'll have to go.
I think there's one on Lake Ave, and I can't remember which one it is, but it is giant, over a mile or so when you're driving. Because I used to hold my breath past the cemetery.
You have to, yes.
Literally, my dad would purposely drive slower because he knew how long this already was.
Yeah.
And so we'd be like,
Uh-huh.
my mom said the other day, she's like, I think sometimes you guys were breathing.
No, never.
Not
We
ever.
were so superstitious. It was like, and then some of it was like, you had to hold your breath until you came to a railroad track or you passed a White House, or like, the lore always changed, like,
ours
no
was
matter
just,
who
like,
you were with.
after you passed or whatever. And then there used to be this ghost bridge that I talked about maybe in the Haunted Rochester episode that I didn't actually add in. It was just my own quip.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this ghost bridge. The construction guy is either trapped in there or he fell out or whatever while he was peeing over the edge. And because of that, each time we would go under the bridge, we'd hold our breath and put our head down or whatever.
Okay,
it's so funny.
Yeah. Those little things that you do, it just, it makes it fun.
Yeah. So maybe if I also find some of my familiar and other friend stones, I'll post pictures of those too.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fun to find.
So.
The one, my bucket list place is really far away. It's in New York, but it's William Waite, Reverend William Waite, and he helped out in the Revolutionary War. He was my ancestor on my dad's side. And he completely built this town. It was his town. It's called Waite Corners. And they created the cemetery. It's named after him. They had the church. And we were on the right side of history. Thank you very much. We were fighting for the revolution and not for Britain. Thank God. And that is about 4 hours away, and that's where he and his kids are interred. And I'd like to get there.
Yeah,
because I'm
that'd
like,
be cool.
Oh, revolutionary.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta get
It's the
there.
same thing with how I found out about the homestead that still exists on my mom's side. But it's not in New York, so I won't get there just
I know.
yet.
I got lucky that my family stayed pretty.
Yeah.
Like,
well, mine
it's either
came from
New York or it's Scotland and wherever else they came from. They pretty much stayed.
Yeah, mine is over where they came from, but also my family, there's records of them coming over on Mayflowers, Mayflower and other ships. And so a lot of them stayed in the Massachusetts area for a while, and then they traveled this way.
Yeah,
I don't know much about my dad's. I can't get a grasp on because Livio either didn't come here through the proper channels. We've tried looking up different spellings of his name because we know that he did have, it used to be an E in our name, but they changed it to an I.
Uh-huh.
So we've looked it up with that. We can't find him anywhere. So I'm like, where did Grandpa Livio come in from? Because I can't find shit.
Nope. My great-grandpa, the one who invented the motherfucking wheat lamp, I cannot find shit on this man. You'd think that there would be a plethora. So my mom's grandfather, mother and then grandfather's side just ended. Just completely ended. Ruth, I have her back to...
somebody didn't have a child, maybe.
Yeah, Ruth, I have her back to Germany, and I have all, Scotland, and I have, way back into, the 16s. But that part it stopped me. I think I got a little further.
Yeah.
But it's hard because you can't corroborate 100% if this is that person. Yeah. I never met the guy. I don't know anything about him. Mm-hmm. He left one wife to go to another wife, and I have no idea. But, I mean, I have people from, of course, Salem in the 1600s. Mm-hmm. It was, right after she was born right after the witch trials ended.
Yeah. I had a relative who was there, and her father came to visit her, and then died during that time period. I was like, why was he visiting her in Salem if they lived in, Plymouth or whatever?
Yeah,
but Soup's interesting.
I
love it.
I could just dive. And I do it, but it gets very,
overwhelming.
And I get too into it.
Well,
I'm staring at a screen for hours. I just can't stop. I'm just
Yeah, Mom gives me... She, does all that back tracing. She's got it back, her part, to... I don't know if it was Papa's or Grandma's, but all the way back to, I think... I don't know if it was 11 or 1300s.
Okay, yep.
So she went way Renaissance, way before, hay bales built houses, you know?
Yep.
And then what she'll do is that she'll give me the list of names just so I can research their background and research this and that more about the people in general. So she'll figure out the whole tree and go way back and then give me all the names. I just love it.
And it's so much work because you have to think you have your parents and then you branch off their parents and then their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, their maternal, their father. It's
Yeah.
Where am I right now? I couldn't remember. Like, I was trying to figure out, I told Sean about, William Waite and how I wanted to get there. And I was like, man, what's his name? And I couldn't remember what side he was on.
Yeah, you gotta, note it.
Fuck.
Yeah, you gotta make notes. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's all on Ancestry, and you have to, click this one open, and then it branches, and it's like, holy mother of God. How am I going to find out? My mom
found other info on, the Church of Latter-day Saints. If you click a box you're saying you're not part of the church, they'll still allow you to use their database.
Okay.
And you can find a lot of other info on that too.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
And there's just a lot of other resources, luckily, because sometimes Ancestry doesn't have all of it for some reason, it seems.
You have to pay for it.
Right.
You get, for my birthday, I did make sure to get the world one because it did stop me.
Yeah.
Because I got to Scotland and I couldn't see any records. And I was like, oh, come on, I gotta know this person was born in Scotland. When did they come here? What are their boat records? Yeah. And you can't view that unless you have the world. So for my birthday, I asked for a month of it. Yeah. And I was able to get a lot done. I got I'm related to this person named Fituba. And she's from, I don't even know, 15, 16. I think I got back to 15.
Yeah, that's
and that
amazing.
Was the furthest that we went.
Yeah.
So, but I was doing it all myself. I didn't have. My sister did help a little bit, but and then you see the pictures of your ancestors and what they looked. It's like,
which aren't even pictures at the time; they're actual painted portraits because there were no pictures in the times that we're actually finding our ancestors in.
There was a Civil War era guy, and he had his cane and he had a big beard. I'm like,
it's so cool.
That is my ancestor. Yeah, and I
which. My ancestors were also on the right side of the Revolutionary War. Paul Revere, who said, "Oh, the British are coming. The British are coming." My ancestor, great fucking whatever grandfather, held Paul Revere's horse.
Okay.
Which isn't a huge thing, but hey, he held Paul Revere's horse. That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's wow, my grandpa was a beacon. He held the Revolutionary soldiers and helped them and let them go through and pass, and it's
it's so cool.
That is the coolest thing
I know.
It's so neat.
And then my grandpa said
Civil War, we were on the Union side as well. I mean, we're in the North, but still, you know, we're Union, we're on the good side of history.
I'm excited to look more into my papas too, because in Germany, he said that the last name, because his last name is Lauer, it used to be von Laurenberg.
Okay, yeah.
And apparently the VON, the Von Trapps, usually you're a little bit up there in rank with whatever
that makes sense, yeah.
you are in society. And so I was like, I wonder what we were over there, exactly. In Germany.
Yep,
that's cool. And of course, that's way before the time of Hitler, so...
Yeah, same. They were gone by then. But yeah, I have the Steins on my Grandma Ruth's side, and that goes back to Germany. Mm-hmm. And you can see it written in their my gosh, it's
great.
Just so cool, man.
You guys have been listening to us drone on and on about
our heritage
for 13 minutes, yo. Anyways,
all right, well, we're out of here.
Thanks a million for listening as always. Make sure you tune in tonight for our live. We will be on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Make sure to subscribe to the More Than Murder channel on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but if you haven't watched the Paranormal Snoop episode of our first episode of the series, go ahead and do that. Hit the bell so you're always in the loop, and make sure you subscribe so you know when content drops. Also, make sure you check out the blog for pictures of Mount Hope Cemetery and all the cool things that are there, and episode sources at morethanmurderpod.com. I will hopefully be updating that with my own pictures as well. So stay tuned. I will post it again if I do. You can follow us on Facebook at
More Than Murder.
You can follow us on Twitter at
_murder.
And you can follow us on Insta at
More Than Murder Pod.
If you are a paranormal investigator or just a regular old Joe Schmo who has been to Mount Hope and maybe seen something or heard something a little unusual, or if you just have any stories you particularly want to hear and want to say hi, you can email us at the Gmail at morethanmurderpod@gmail.com.
Or maybe you have a cool ancestor with a cool story who's buried there. We want to hear.
Yeah. Do you have anybody who's buried at Mount Hope? Let us know.
Tell us your heritage.
Yeah, tell us your heritage. We'd love to hear it all because we're just chatty little
Of
course.
course.
As you know by now, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So... Yeah. We love you. We will see you next week and tonight.
Yes.
Tune in. So we'll see you then.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.